Allah is one. He is the only one who created everything. Allah is one. He is the only one who created everything. Can you see the moon? Can you see the sun? Can you see the shining stars? Allah made them all. Can you see the night? Can you see the day? Can you see the clouds high? Allah made them all. Allah is one. He is the only one who created everything. Can you see the birds flying up so high? Can you see them in the sky? Allah made them all. Allah can hear me, Allah can see me, Allah can hear me, Allah can see me. Wherever I am, Allah is with me. We must believe in fate, Allah's divine fate. Whether it's good or bad, we still believe it's fate. We still believe it's fate. Everything in the universe is controlled by Allah. Everything in the universe is following Allah's fate. Allah is one. He is the only one who created everything.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد النبي الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome back to the stories of the prophets, peace be upon them. And we are still with the great story of Musa alayhi salam. During the 40 years that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished the children of Israel with, where they will be lost in the southern Palestine and Sinai. During these 40 years, great stories happened. I talked to you about the story of the cow and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised the dead for Musa alayhi salam. And now we are talking about the story of Al-Khadr. Al-Khadr is a great knowledgeable person. Many scholars believe that he is a prophet of Allah with a very special knowledge. That Musa alayhi salam met. Musa thought that he was the most knowledgeable person on earth, but the angel came to him and told him that Allah tells you there is a more knowledgeable person. Go and meet him. And he met him in a strange way. Finally, they started on a journey. Al-Khadr made a condition for Musa alayhi salam. If you want to be with me on this journey, my condition is that you do not ask about anything until I explain it to you. Do not ask before my explanation. I must explain it first. No matter how much I wait, you wait with me. And then they rode on a ship. Al-Khadr broke the ship and it started to drown. Musa alayhi salam asked him, why did you do that? He said, didn't I tell you that you cannot bear with me? You cannot be patient with me. He said, oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. The ship was saved by hard work of the seamen, and they reached the shore. They did not know that Al-Khadr did it. And Al-Khadr and Musa alayhi salam left. Musa still wondering, what is this man doing? Why did he destroy the ship? But there's no explanation. So, they continued their trip. Al-Khadr saw a young boy. Many scholars say he's about 10 years old. Away, playing next to a village. And then Al-Khadr approached that young boy and stabbed the boy and killed him. He killed the boy. An innocent boy that was playing, there was nothing in harm done by that boy, and he was killed. What a crime! And Musa alayhi salam could not, of course, bear it. He said, what did you do? How could you slay an innocent soul? Of course, anyone of us who would see this would have the same reaction. Al-Khadr very calmly said, did I not tell you that you cannot have patience with me. That is all he said. Musa alayhi salam remembered the condition. See, he was told from the beginning, you cannot bear with me. You cannot bear something that you have no knowledge of. How could you bear it? Something that contradicts with logic. How could you bear it? It contradicts with everything that you know. How can you have patience with something like that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching Musa and teaching us a lesson. That is, there are things beyond logic, beyond theories, beyond science. Today, as we speak, today, science glorifies Einstein and the theory of relativity. And this theory really changed science, and space and so on could not have been conquered without it. But we also know of quantum theory. That is also a great theory of science. And without it, many of the adventures and knowledge of science we would not have reached. And many things that we see today, we could not explain it without quantum theory. Do you know that science says very clearly the two theories, quantum theory and relativity theory, contradict each other? We know for a fact that they cannot be both right. They can be both wrong. That is a possibility, but they cannot be both right. While we still use them both, and we don't know how it works, that two things that contradict each other work, we don't know. And this is the creation of humans. So, there are a lot of things in science, in knowledge, that is beyond our comprehension. We see it, we deal with it, but we don't know. We think we know. Sometimes we give ourselves too much credit. It is too much credit. So, from this story, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching humanity, do not overcredit yourself. Do not give too much credit to your knowledge and science. You still don't know most of knowledge. So, going back to the story, Musa asks, the answer comes, I told you cannot bear with me, you cannot have patience with me. Musa remembered, and he said, you are right. If ever I ask you about anything after this, before you explaining it first, do not take me with you on this journey. And Al-Khadr said, agreed. You put this condition upon yourself, I agree. Musa asked for forgiveness, for excuse, although it is something that cannot be borne, but this is the agreement. So they moved. Musa alayhi salam and Al-Khadr reached a village. And they were very tired. They were very hungry. And then they started asking for food. They had no money. It is the custom of that time that if you are traveling and you had no food, and this is, by the way, approved by in Islam, if you had no food and you ask for food, it is a must on those of the village, of the city, to feed you for 3 days. You are a guest, an obligatory guest, for 3 days. This is a must in Islam, and it was a must in culture, and it was a must of the village and the areas that the Musa and Al-Khadr used to travel in. So it was customary to ask for food. So they asked for food, nobody would give them. What kind of village is this? So they started moving from one door to another, asking for anyone to provide for them, to give them food, and nobody would give them food. None. So they went to the suburbs of the village, the edge of the village, and they sat down, very hungry and waiting. They don't know what they're waiting for. Suddenly, Al-Khadr sees a wall, just a wall, that is almost falling down. Just a wall. It's not a building, it's just a wall. At the edge of the city, in the desert, almost falling down. Has no purpose, it has no use. So Al-Khadr moved to that wall, brought it down, started to rebuild it. And they were very hungry. Musa alayhi salam was looking at this strange old man. What is he doing? Building a wall in the middle of the desert that has no purpose. It was almost falling down anyway. So why would you build it? So he came to him and he said, if you're going to build a wall, at least ask for money. Why would you build a wall that has no purpose? And even if you have to, why do you do it for these people who did not give us any food? So if you're going to do it, you should have asked for money. Why didn't you ask for money in return? Al-Khadr looked at him. He said, this is the end of our journey together. And Musa immediately remembered, oh my God, I asked before he explained for a third time. I asked. Al-Khadr stood up. He said, Musa, don't feel bad. Let me explain to you what happened. Let's start with the first story. Remember that ship that I destroyed? He said, yes. Why did you do that? He said, there was a king traveling in that direction, and he would take any good ship from its people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me that knowledge that this king is coming, and these young men, poor seamen, would lose their ship. And the only way to save them from the king to take their ship is to break it. The king passed by, he saw that this ship was in trouble, did not attack them, did not take their ship. So I did it to save their wealth. What a great explanation. Something beyond knowledge, beyond wisdom. It is the knowledge of the unseen. It is the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of things that we do not know. See, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, sometimes we wish for things that are bad for us. Sometimes we hate things that are good for us. Allah knows and we do not know. So, question your knowledge. Question what you want. Because sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give it to you. Sometimes we make prayers asking for things and it does not come true. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to save us. We ask for something that is bad for us, that would hurt us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He is merciful with us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to save us from that by not providing that to us. So do not feel bad when you ask for something and it does not come true. Maybe because it's better for you. Sometimes we wish for money and wealth and it does not come. Maybe Allah knew that if we became rich, we will be too arrogant and maybe not keep our prayers and so on. So maybe wealth would hurt us at the end. Maybe with this wealth would cause us to have family problems and so on. So you do not know. So leave it to Allah. You ask and submit. Ask. But if it does not come true, submit. Now that is the explanation for the ship. Why did he kill a young boy, 10 years old? Why? Allah knew that this young boy would grow up to become arrogant, a murderer, a tyrant, disbelieving in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he would hurt his own parents. Allah knew what will happen to this child. The parents of this boy were good man and woman, believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to save them from this young man who will become their misery. Now, killing him would do many things. First of all, his parents would be saved from the misery of a tyrant boy. I mean, how many parents have been hurt by their own kids? Allah knew that he will hurt his own parents. So Allah wanted to save them. Secondly, what is better for this boy? To die young, innocent, and go to heavens, or to grow into a murderer and go to hell? So it is also better for the boy to die early. Now, of course, his mother and his father they do not know what will happen of him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immediately made the woman conceive another boy that would be good and better than this boy. So at the end of the things, she still has a boy, but the difference is a very beautiful, handsome, and great believing boy that would treat them well. So isn't it better for the parents? As much as it was better for the boy that was killed himself. A knowledge beyond our knowledge, something that we would never think of, the unseen knowledge. As for the wall, it belonged to two orphan boys that were living in this town, this ugly, miser town. Under the wall, there was a treasure that their parents hid for them. Their father knew that this, if he would have given them the wealth, these evil people in this town would take it away from them. So, what he decided to do is to put the treasure under the wall. Who would use a wall in the desert? So, when his death came, he built this wall in the desert and he hid the treasure under it. Of course, nobody used the wall, nobody thought about it. Nobody, of course, thought of a treasure being hidden under that. The father knew that with years this wall would fall down. His young two boys would be adults at that time and they would find their treasures and use it because he did not trust anyone in the village. But what he did not expect was this wall was leaning, falling down, while they were still young, they did not grow enough to protect themselves and their treasure. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Al-Khadr to this wall to re-erect it, rebuild it, so it will stay for, say, another 10 years until they become stronger and they will find their treasure and use it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did it because their parents were good, believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as a reward for them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave their children years and years after their death. Remember, if you are good to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah shall be good to you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shall be good to your children and grandchildren in ways that you have never thought of. Just put your trust in Him. So, great explanations of this. Al-Khadr seemed to possess knowledge that is much superior to what Musa alayhi salam knew. Musa knew the knowledge of the seen, Al-Khadr knew the knowledge of the metaphysical, the unseen. It's a very special knowledge. Some people claim today that they have it. Nobody can have it without the will of Allah. And Allah will give it only to those that will use it correctly. So, what did Al-Khadr say at the end of the story? He said, please Musa, remember, وَمَا فَعَلْتُهُ عَنْ أَمْرِي. I did not do it out of my own wisdom. I only did it because it was the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything that I did was ordered. So please, it is not allowed for us to claim the unseen knowledge or the metaphysical knowledge. It is not for us to judge. So that is the great story of Al-Khadr with Musa alayhi salam, and that is the knowledge we get out of it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us benefit out of it, and remember that the knowledge of Allah is greater of all. In the next episode, inshallah, we will talk on the continuation of the story of Musa alayhi salam and Harun and the wandering children of Israel. See you inshallah in the next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.